Cool. Wait, let me get my glasses. Actually, fuck that. We keep an eye to eye with y'all. Yeah. So a while back, album was released July 20th. So that's some time ago. And I asked the people to send in questions about the album that you guys might have. You know, like, I made the album knowing all the nuances, but it might not necessarily come across. So, here we go. Uno, when did you decide you were going to make this album sound like one full song? I don't know, I guess I always loved concept albums. I've always been listening to concept albums. It just paints a picture that is more vivid than having individual songs on the tape. I'm always going to be striving to tell a story. There was a song called it was called Broken Phone. And this whole story was about a guy and a girl trying to reach out to each other, but they would miss each other's messages like all the time. And at the end, the guy calls the girl, and she doesn't pick up because for some reason, I don't remember what it was. And then he gets into a car accident and he dies. It's like a super sad song because like she was trying to reach out to him too, but like every time it will be disconnected. It's the first story I can remember. That was like back in 17, and then from that on we just build and build and build, and that's what I love so much about this whole process. Storytelling is definitely what I'm always going to be striving for. And this is a long-ass answer to this first question. Dos. This is a question from Jade, a good friend. What do you think was the most difficult, strenuous part of the whole creation process of the album? The strenuous part about the album was finishing it. I was in New York from September to like early December, and then I went back from end of January until mid-March, and Miss Rona just shut off the whole motive, and I had to go back mid-March. And in that month and a half, we worked a lot. Like, I was doing an internship, and I dropped the internship because we were working on the album like full time almost. And I was in my element. I loved it so much, and I was doing so much every day. And then when I came home, I was kind of like, damn. Like, I knew the process was gonna keep going because there was no way I was gonna stop this whole skeleton that we built up. Suddenly I was in my room again where I made all these beats.
In this world, only can be heard the echo of my existence.
How is this picture gonna get to an end point? When am I gonna be satisfied? That was the biggest challenge. There were about 17 ideas, and I eventually had to like cut down some ideas, unfortunately. Sometimes I would crank my head over how I was gonna like arrange what's the vision, for example. For example, with Close Cash, I was talking to him a lot. He was giving me a lot of advice. And at one point, it was like to the end process of the album. I recorded the phone call with Cash. He didn't know. And then we talked for like half an hour. And at the end of the talk, he was like, yo bro, you should have recorded that, like, or there's like some fire shit that we talked about, and I would have been sick. And then I was like, bro, got you. So those moments were just really nice, and that made me realize that sometimes, that's why I put that message in the song, sometimes you shouldn't know how to think shit, because the answer was in plain sight. I was talking to Cash every day about this shit. And I know sometimes it's hard to not overthink it, because your mind is going to go into like a certain canal, no pun intended. That it's harder to like switch perspectives and like look at a certain situation from another lens. But try to do it, strive for it. And, you know, it's really eye-opening. Third question from my guy, Fora Fire. How was it collaborating with all these different artists? See, I like that question because when I was starting to make beats, the only dream I ever had was to work on an album or work on songs with other people. Create something, literally creation. So when I came to New York and I found people that were willing to sit down and work on these songs and work on these ideas and were actually excited about it too, that was one of the most crazy experiences I had, like coming up and being like, whoa, there's actually people out there that love this too, because I was making beats in my room and my friends fucked with it. They weren't really interacting with it on a creative level, you know. Now, obviously I can't blame them, you know, like they were doing other stuff. And then when I came to New York, there was Max that I met at the deli 4 in the morning that was like, yo, this is fire. I'm gonna pull up tomorrow, like the day after. And I was like, what? That's how it works? You know, so that was really like, wow. And then collaborating with everyone was sick because it was such a learning experience for me, because it was literally the first time I worked with people. Kickback was the first song I ever made, same for Max. It was just so sick to be in that creative space with other people and crossing minds, crossing ideas, and just coming up with with stuff. Now I knew through like those like little moments of experience what I had to do to make stuff more efficient, for example, or like make certain choices. So yeah, honestly, it was fucking amazing. I can't express it. Alright. How did working remotely with artists influence the creative process? Damn. Well, I guess it really did influence it in a really interesting way, because if it wouldn't have been for Ms. Rona, this album would have been completely different, and I think it would have been way less deep. Like, the depth would have been not there as much. And working remotely allowed me to just be alone in my room, and sometimes, like for example with a personal project like this for MediTape, I work best alone at certain moments, just because then I can like sit in and like just be with my own self and just think about certain stuff without any distraction. And then it's great to switch it up and have sessions obviously with people around me. But then I was just like in my room all the time, and I was talking to Wally and Max on the phone every day, literally every day, and talking to other artists on the tape. And that was really interesting because it allowed me to get back to what I was doing after the call would end, but I would know what I was going to like get to, having learned stuff from that call. You know? So it was really cool to just have that mixture of being ultra connected and complete disconnection when the call would end. And that allowed me to just dive in every track with every detail that I had in mind, to paint the picture as vivid as I can, with the brightest colors as I can. The contribution from the artist coming in, opening a new vocal pack from Cash that he recorded like the second verse, you know. Some new vocals that Aura laid down on the bridge in Bliss. And they were in that room literally too. Like everyone was just in that room just fucking working on this shit. So working remotely was essential to get MediTape to where it is right now. So yeah. 5. My guy JP rolls on the rhythm. Which song of the album flowed out the most natural while creating and how so? I guess it just started with Kickback, honestly. Or maybe even After Sunrise. It's kind of weird to think about because those two songs were the songs that I made the beat, and like the day after, everyone pulled up to the studio and just started writing to the shit. I'll put a little clip in here of like the studio session that we have for After Sunrise. And that's the day I met Jake, and Jake just opened my eyes to like a lot of technical stuff and like a lot of things that he was experiencing, like how he saw things in the music world. Because I hadn't really come across another producer yet that was kind of doing the same thing, you know. So it was really cool having that session and just seeing Blaze, Max, Wally in the background writing and just crossing ideas in minds. There's one clip I love, and Dayton filmed that. Big up Dayton. and you can see me sitting behind the desk and Jake standing up. We're talking about beats, and then you can see Lace, Wally, and Max on the bed, literally coming up with the Run It At a House part. And yeah, honestly, it's such a magical moment. I'm fucking grateful they didn't film that. That's why I love documenting shit, and that's why I brought this camcorder to New York. Little clips and little nuances to explain. Just because. Just because it creates this extra dimension to the sonic world. You know, it gets a whole lot more physical. I love that. I literally sent Max a text the day before they came, and I was like, yo, I made this beat. I feel like I made it for you, but I don't know why. And that's like what it started, literally. They pulled up the next day, and the beat was on a loop. I was cooking some food, and Max while he was working, writing, crossing ideas, and fucking sitting on the couch. And that's where the couch aesthetic kind of comes from. Literally, that living room, my first apartment in New York. There was this lamp, this typical like living room lamp, couch, and curtain rug. That was just the scenery. Everything sprouted from those three elements. The first session was at my place. The second session was probably at Founders in Max's dorm, and I was just carrying around this suitcase with all the recording equipment in it. And I would just pull up there. They would pull up to mine and switch it up a little bit. It was just session. Boom, done. I was going back home, mix the track. The first time I mixed, I took like a week and a half because I didn't know shit what I was doing. But the song was finished, and that's where it started. Numero 6, my guy Lace. What do you think about MediTape when you think 10 years in the future? What do you think this project is going to mean long term? Oh, I love that question. I'm going to look back at this period in 10 years being extremely grateful that I got a chance to have an experience like this. I want to have 5 albums out, including MediTape. I want to have Downtime Studios being something where independent artists can go to submit their music, and that it goes to stores safely and it doesn't get fucked up by Kevin from TuneCore. You know what I mean? So yeah, looking back, super grateful for this experience. Super grateful as fuck. Set. Do you have a vision for every song, and if so, which turned out at least as expected? So I do have a vision for every song, because for me, making music is about like recreating a feeling that I got from artists that I was listening to or am listening to. But I'm thinking writing was probably the one that took the most turns, or like was the least expected. Writing was the song that broke my head the most, probably. I wanted to have moments that break the album into chapters almost. Just so that it's graspable for people, and it's not just like this one complete wash down of like this whole, you know what I mean? Like writing gives the listener a little bit some time to like breathe and just kind of like reflect, and there's not a lot going on, like the instrumentals, you know, it's an upbeat shit, and like you know that you're going to somewhere. I was talking to Swami. I met him at the venue that Wally and Lace performed, and then Max jumped on the stage for Kickback, and I was DJing for them. I remember meeting him, and I just had this fresh mind, you know, like very direct and clean vision into the world as an artist. And I was like, yeah, I fuck with this guy. And back home, I was approached by King Nat, I think on Instagram. He sent me some drums, and I was like, yo, this is sick. It's funky as fuck. So I put the drums in the track. What's the vision is a question, and the garden is the answer. But how do we get to the garden? Riding. That was that. You get what I mean, though. Eventually, all the pieces fell into place, and that was it. Alright. Another question by my man. For like fire, blow like blaya. Did you encounter any creative blocks, and if so, how did you overcome them? not really. When I was in New York, I didn't have any blocks because the city was just too crazy to have any blocks. Honestly, I was out all day, riding the train, going wherever the fuck we were recording that with my little suitcase. And I was just excited to fuck out of my mind, ready to make this album. Because I went to New York and I was determined that this album was gonna be finished. I wasn't sure how it was gonna be, but I knew it was gonna be finished. Having met all these people, especially the second time I went back, performing and like meeting more and more people that were putting energy into me as well, it was really sick and it just kept me going. And then when I got back home, I had a few vlogs here and there, but that was also just because quarantine. Like I was not leaving the room. I was in my room for like 3 months straight. Sometimes it got a little, you know what I mean? It got a little, but we figured it out. I realized that sometimes when you're in that block, you gotta step out of the environment. I went for a little run, like skated down the street, and just step out of that bubble. You did the job. Sometimes people have other mechanisms that work for them. That's just me, I guess. I don't know. 9. Number 9 by Nina Del Rio. How do you feel that your own influences and experiences came together with those of the other artists? My influences reciprocate the artists that I love. I don't even know if that's the right word. You guys know what I mean, right? My music, I try to like not mimic sound, but like take some elements from artists that I love, add some Teeze sauce to this. So I think having that being the core of the songs, like the beats, and then sending beats out to artists or like working together with artists that create their new thoughts and new ideas through those beats that were sprouted from influences that I have. It's like a simultaneously working way. It's like a recycled idea kind of. I don't know how to explain it. I think as an artist, our job is to translate our feelings as much as we can into sound waves. And every artist has their different sound because they have their different feelings. They have experienced different things and they like different things. That's necessary. Art is always going to be different because people are different. So that's why I love so much about having so many different minds on the album. Because as a listener, you're just literally meeting different people, listening to those lyrics, being like, oh, so this is what's in their mind. I guess I didn't really think about it up to this point. So that's a really nice question. I don't know who asked this question, but this is question 10. What are some highlights and challenges of working with such a large dynamic group of artists? Highlights is that there was always shit going on. Like there was always something bugging me out in a good way. I was like solving like 14 puzzles at the same time, and it was great because I was never bored, and I'm still not bored. Yeah, just fucking. Let me see the question again. Well, another highlight, we really created a family. I remember when the album was done, I organized a Zoom listening party for all the artists and some other close friends. It was kind of like organizing a dinner and like having everyone around the table. Just seeing everyone coming together was so sick. All these different characters and all these different actors in this movie, in this story. Yeah, love that. Something that was a challenge. Yeah, I think the challenge was to make sure that everyone was happy with their performance. Also having to choose songs and having to cut, how do you say that? Cut the knot. I think that's like a Dutch saying. I don't know, I think that would make sense in English. 11. This is my guy Shri, yeah. So Shri, what are the most drastic shifts in your frame of mind that have taken place in the process of working with all the artists on this album? Wow. Drastic shifts in the frame of your mind. I don't know. I guess this whole learning experience of working with people and like having the first glimpse of making full body work, full body album with a story and how that goes about. Because I remember starting out, I didn't know shit, just making beats, pressing some buttons, you know. I'm just realizing how many little nuances come into play with this shit. Any people watching right now that are like starting to make beats, just keep on doing this shit, honestly. Because I have beats that I hate. It's just about keeping it pushing, and you're gonna get to a point where you're like, oh shit, fuck with this. Keep it moving. And then other stuff, for example, the technical side, distribution, bruh. Not even gonna go in there. I am fuck this shit. Record Jet, TuneCore, DistroKid, Lander, some other bullshit platform. 5 platforms that we went through to try to get our message across. This album, we wanted to get this album out into the world, but they wouldn't let us. Record Jet was saying that we should change the transition because the stores wouldn't accept it. It was like crossing the guidelines. Lander was saying, oh, you guys can't do. DistroKid wouldn't let us. Too much to get into. Fuck Kevin though. Numero 12. My guy Jake. The big question. What's next? You're honed in on a certain nostalgic sound with the MediTape. How is your sound changing as you are now creating beyond the MediTape? I guess just keep it moving. Best believe the second album is coming out together with The Shiny, Bloom 2021. So don't go waiting on that. It'll be there when it's there. You know what I mean? and working with other artists, trying to get more production out, beats for songs that they want to make, and just creating more shit. Subject, get in here.
Who you talking to, bro?
Talking to the peeps, bro. I'm answering questions real quick. I was just talking about question 12 or 13 or 12. Yeah, Jake. Big question. What's next? I was talking about Bloom. But the only information I gave them was Bloom 2021. And it's us.
Yeah. Soon come.
Don't worry about it. My laptop is 14%, so I want to go through this.
Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah. Question 13 by my guy Luke. Miss you, bro. Man, like, what was the moment you knew that MediTape was the goal? Did it just become what it was naturally, or was there a direct plan to cultivate a certain sound and energy in a cohesive project? It's a very well formulated question, Mr. Luke. Well, I knew that MediTape was the goal once I got my first Scarlet, and that was like 3.5 years ago, almost 4 years ago now. I wanted to make a project. I wasn't sure what it was going to contain, but yeah.
Was it a consequence of getting this new Scarlet?
Well, kind of in my mind, yeah. I was like.
Now
well,
the options.
Now I can really do some shit. You know, it was like a painter having all this paint and now a white blank canvas. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Literally holding it, I was like, what am I gonna do now? And then I guess the cultivation of my vision came with me being interested in artists that I love and just trying to recreate that feeling. To make music that I love, basically, with people that I love. That's what it's about.
Beautiful words.
Mm-hmm. And then the last question with my guy Dayton, catch my guy on the 10th track. Which memory of the whole process sticks out the most when you reflect on making the album? Okay, this is, I know you know what I'm thinking.
The moment? Yeah. There's a couple though.
There's 2 that I have in mind right now.
What's your first memory?
My first memory is after the first session of Kickback.
Yeah.
100%. We recorded the first verse, or like the first 8 bars or something, Wally. And Wally dipped, he had to do some shit, and Max and I went to the deli on the corner. I just remember like, I exported the file real quick and like, we both had one earphone in and we were just geeking the fuck out, bro. We were just hearing this and we just kept replaying it and we were just jumping around, and the guy in the deli was just literally cheering with us. It was so sick. And that was that moment when I realized like, oh, we're actually on the path right now. And like, like the feeling I was trying to get for all this time, and now this is like the first seed, like the first fruit that was grown from that tree. It was so sick.
Yeah, definitely. And that was a special moment. Yeah. Like basically sealed our fate.
Yeah.
In a sense. There's a lot that comes to mind, and it really changed because it went from us being all in New York to being all in our little bubble at home and like quarantine,
which is a really different approach to like making songs. You know?
Yeah.
Like I feel like loads of the songs on the album, like they weren't all made like in a studio organically in one session.
Yeah.
Some were like vocals were being sent from one place to another, but however it was made, it all turned out as like a special thing that linked the people that worked on it together.
Yeah.
Which is sick. But I think about another session that was in a group, and I'm thinking about the Sunrise.
Yeah.
Because that was the second session.
Yeah.
We were back in New York in February, ready to work, and that's the day I properly met my guy Jake.
Yeah.
Russell, big up to that guy. And first time I properly worked with Blaze. And I just remember being in that room and hearing the beat and trying to figure that shit out.
You know which one's like the best. And so then you know where to go spend your time on.
Yeah.
And if we can start a bunch of stuff, you then have so many more options and you can and then all the stuff you're not using.
Exactly. Yo, that's so true because I'm trying to sell more beats. Yeah. Like I'm trying to get on that. But I haven't time.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. She
on
was
the couch.
Yeah. I don't know, man. She was crazy. I was chilling on the couch.
Yeah.
I had really great
OD.
You haven't?
Like I mean like I've said beats.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had it. Yeah, okay.
Oh no, she beats to sell. Yeah.
And then everything happening along the day that just like perfectly molded what the song was to be. You know, us getting kicked out of your house and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's ideally how I want a song to be made, you know, like as a reflection of that day. And just like all wrapped up in a day through a feeling that was in the air that day. That for me is the perfect way of creating a song. And songs are created in loads of different ways, you know, like Bubbles was created
in a bubble.
In a bubble, but through loads of different sessions, and it was great as well. It was just a completely different approach.
A different experience.
Yeah, and I love that one organic feel.
Looking forward, like that's why it's so sick that we're now we're like living together, like working on this shit. It's like every day is like that almost. Like once we get into the zone, it's the more beautiful.
So way more to come, you know.
It's the way to go about it. Then I wanna touch base on one other moment. That was the last session that we had in New York, which was with the beautiful Aura. Bliss. Yeah, it was the one and only in-person session that we had with Aura.
Yeah.
It just fucking sounds so sick. I remember just seeing Aura, and we were in my place in New York. I'm gonna drop a little clip right here. And we were chilling the fuck out, and I was playing the beat, and we were coming up with ideas, and it was a beautiful session. Especially looking in retrospect, seeing what we did, because then Aura left, and Max and I we were in front of the train. We were already saying that we were probably gonna have to leave in 2 weeks, something like that. But we weren't sure if it was gonna come that quickly.
By the time we exited the fucking subway, it was like, damn, we're gonna have to leave today or tomorrow.
Because when we entered the subway, it was like we left New York in the world pre-corona. And then in the subway or in the train, we got a call from a friend, Alexi, that she was like, "Whoa, Trump just announced a travel ban." So we were like, "Fuck!"
Some shit really hit the fan.
In the train, we were like, "Fuck!" And then we left. We exited Union Square and we entered a completely new New York, like a different New York. And I just
feel it in the air.
Yeah, I remember calling back my dad, fucking 4 in the morning. I was like, "Bruh, I'm gonna have to go back." That whole night was just ridiculous. I booked my ticket back that same night, and we organized little motive people just to have like the last farewell with everyone that we spent time in New York. Like a transitional period of just 2 different worlds. That train ride, bro.
Yeah.
Shit.
Anyway, what's gonna happen soon? We have a lot on our hands right now.
Yeah.
We're working to make a lot of things possible. We got a lot of surprises coming. Soon everything's gonna come into place. You know, the puzzle is gonna be complete. You'll see the whole picture. Yeah, exactly. We're just about assembling pieces right now. Yeah. And soon come, a lot to come. We're just kind of building right now, building the foundation so we can bring a lot of things in a row soon.
Building this pyramid. Fuck a skyscraper. Shit is unstable as fuck. It's necessary to have a visual dimension next to the sonic dimension. With sight, it creates a whole extra layer of emotion, extra information.
Gotta touch all five senses, you know what I mean? And even the sixth sense.
MediTape pancakes. That was it. That was it, honestly. That was an hour.
Pretty much. Damn, if you made it this far, I really fuck with you.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna chop it up a little bit, but
But even though, if you made it this far,
big ups, big ups.
shit, you're a
Big
real
up
one.
yourself.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see you
Give me these
guys
pop.
in a bit.
In a bit.
That's crazy. Q&A done.
Boom.
Edit
Q&A.
this shit, man.
Check. Yeah. Come back with an edited version
Bro.
today, G.
Yeah, fully.
Come on.
I am. It's gonna be done today. Whoa. What the fuck? How the fuck did my hair grow this much? I really gotta start paying attention to these to-do lists, huh? Let me write that down on the to-do list. Tie my shit up. We're gonna let it hang. Well, if you're watching right now, that means you watched the whole video. You watched 30 minutes of me chatting shit. Not chatting shit. There was some really good shit in there. So yeah, then you could say chatting shit if you consider it good shit. Anyways, and we won't be coming out with any more music until you feel me?